everyone's saying AI is going to change everything, right? But in Africa, it's not just talk, it's already happening. We're not talking about like flying cars or anything. This is real practical stuff. And you know what? You're not the only one who's curious about this. You sent us this super interesting episode of the AI Realities podcast, so we're going to dive into that.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's not just your typical tech stuff. They actually talk to some really interesting people.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
Well, they had this tech entrepreneur, someone who's actually on the ground building AI solutions right now in Africa. And they had an economist to kind of break down the whole, impact on jobs in the economy.
That makes sense. Got to look at all the angles.
Right. And get this, they even had a, social activist, someone who's really focused on making sure AI in Africa is used responsibly and actually benefits everyone.
Okay, so we've got the tech, the economics, the ethics. That's a good mix.
Yeah.
What really struck me, I don't know if you felt the same, but the podcast started off and it was almost contagious, this optimism about what AI could do in Africa.
Yeah.
It wasn't just oh, AI can solve problems. It was no, it can solve problems in a way that really fits with what Africa needs.
Exactly. It was refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
One of the examples that they gave that really stuck with me was how AI is being used in agriculture. I mean, think about it. They were talking about this technology that analyzes the soil, like the weather patterns, all in real time.
Wow.
Almost like having a personalized farming advisor in your pocket right there.
So giving farmers superpowers or something.
Yeah, exactly. And not just that, the potential to improve those crop yields, help farmers deal with climate change, which is a huge deal.
Huge. And it's not just agriculture, right? They talked about healthcare too. I mean, AI diagnosing diseases like malaria.
Yeah.
Especially in places where, maybe there aren't enough doctors.
It could be life-saving. Literally life-saving. But, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. They did bring up some of the potential downsides, to be realistic.
Which makes sense. I mean, it can't all be perfect, right?
Right. And they brought in the economist, remember, to talk about the big one, jobs.
Yeah, that's the one everyone's worried about. Are the robots coming for our jobs?
Exactly. Because if AI starts doing everything we do, what happens to us,
Right. What did they say about that?
It was interesting. It wasn't just oh, the robots are taking over, doom and gloom. It was more nuanced.
Okay, so what was the take?
They were saying, look, some jobs, yeah, they might disappear. That's true. But at the same time, new jobs are going to pop up, requiring totally different skills.
So it's less about robots taking jobs, more like jobs are changing.
Yeah, exactly. The whole way we work is transforming. And that means there's a huge opportunity, right, for people to learn new skills to adapt.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just different, and we need to be ready for it.
Exactly. But then they also got into this other big concern, right? Data privacy.
Yeah, huge, especially with AI. I mean, it needs so much data to work.
Exactly. And if it's not handled properly, they brought up a really good example. I think it was South Africa. They were talking about facial recognition technology and some of the problems they had with it. Yeah, it was really eye-opening. I mean, they were trying to do something good with it, but the way they implemented it was just flawed.
Oh no, what happened?
There were all these issues, right? Like discrimination, even wrongful arrests because the technology was messing up.
Wow.
It shows you how important it is to have strong ethical guidelines.
Yeah.
Especially in places like Africa where maybe the laws around data protection aren't as developed yet,
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't want AI to make things worse.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not all rosy. Got it. But overall, what did these experts think? I mean, were they hopeful about the future of AI in Africa?
I would say, cautiously optimistic.
Okay, I can see that.
They definitely saw the potential, right? But they were also realistic about the challenges.
So what needs to happen? What did they say?
Well, they kept saying collaboration. That was the big thing.
Collaboration. Okay.
Everybody's got to be involved. Governments, businesses, educators, even just communities. Everybody's got a part to play.
It's like a team effort.
Totally.
Yeah.
Governments have to create the right policies. Businesses have to, invest responsibly. And we need education.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We need to teach people how to, thrive in this new AI world.
Exactly. Without the right skills, people get left behind. And actually, that was another big concern they brought up, making sure AI doesn't actually worsen inequality.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, they were saying, what if the only people who benefit are the ones who already have, education, money, access to technology?
Then it's just going to widen the gap, right?
Exactly. And that's where the social activist perspective was so important.
Yeah.
They were really big on this idea of like inclusive AI.
Okay, I like that. Inclusive AI. So what does that look like?
So it's about making sure AI benefits everyone, right? Like it's developed ethically, deployed responsibly. It's about uplifting everybody, not just a select few.
Yeah, it can't just be for the privileged,
Yeah,
right? It's got to be for everybody.
exactly. And that actually reminded me of the question that you had.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering about that.
Remember, you were asking about how to make AI accessible to everyone in Africa.
Yeah, yeah, not just these big companies with tons of cash.
Right, exactly. And guess what? Someone in the podcast audience had the exact same question.
Seriously.
They were like, how can small businesses even use this stuff? It seems so expensive.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. It's easy to picture AI as this big, expensive thing.
Right. But then the entrepreneur they interviewed actually had some really cool answers. They were talking about these like cloud-based AI tools.
Oh, interesting.
So you know how like with software now, you don't have to buy the whole thing. You can just like, subscribe.
Yeah, yeah. Way cheaper.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So smaller businesses can get access to these like powerful AI features without needing a ton of money up front.
So it's like leveling the playing field a bit.
Yeah, exactly. They even gave examples, like some platforms do AI-powered marketing, which can really help small businesses, get their name out there.
Wow.
Or they have AI-driven customer service stuff, which can save so much time and effort.
That's amazing. So it's like AI can actually be a tool for small businesses to compete, not just these big corporations.
Exactly. And it gets even better. Remember we were talking about how the experts were feeling cautiously optimistic? Well, the listeners felt the same way.
Oh, really? How do you know?
They actually did a poll on the podcast.
Yeah.
And get this, over 70% of listeners said they think AI can be a force for good in Africa.
Wow, that's actually really positive. It's so easy to focus on all the what ifs and the risks. It's kind of nice to know that people are hopeful about this. It's good to end on a high note, right? It's easy to get kind of, I don't know, overwhelmed by all the challenges, but there's real potential here.
Yeah, and I think what really gets me about this whole AI in Africa thing, it's not like we're just talking about some, fancy tech. We're talking about people's lives.
Yes.
It's about, like, can we use this technology to actually make a difference? Can it help communities? Can it create opportunities? Not just, more problems.
It's about using it for good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thinking back to that podcast episode you shared, I thought they did a really good job, like, covering all sides of this. It wasn't just like, AI is amazing,
Yeah.
They got into the tough stuff, too.
For sure, for sure. They didn't sugarcoat anything, which I appreciated,
Yeah.
but I also finished it feeling hopeful. Like this isn't a done deal.
What do you mean?
It's like the future of AI in Africa, it's not already written. It's being written right now by the decisions people make, the policies they put in place.
So we all have a role to play in this.
Exactly. Whether it's like supporting companies that are using AI the right way or speaking up about ethical concerns or even just, like you said, staying informed, right? All of that matters.
So basically, we've got this powerful tool. It can do amazing things, but it's not a magic bullet. It's how we use it that counts.
100%.
And that's what makes it so interesting, right? It's not just a tech story. It's a human story.
Absolutely.
So for everyone listening, here's something to think about. If AI really can change everything, like whole industries, societies, who gets to decide how that happens? Who benefits? What are the rules?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. And those are the conversations we need to be having now, because the choices we make today, they're going to shape the future of AI in Africa for years to come.
No doubt about it.
So keep asking those questions, stay curious, and let's all work towards a future where AI is a force for good in the world.